In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create these clickable y-axis here. So if I click on Monday, you can see here we're opening up Google. So if I click here on Tuesday, we're opening chartjs3.com. If we open up, or if you click on Wednesday, it's chartjs.org, and etc, etc. So every one of them have an individual link here. So let's start to look how we can do this clickable links on the y-axis. So let's start to look how to create clickable y-axis with links in Chartjs. So the first thing what we need is we need to go to chartjs3.com getting started, this specific link, which you can also find in the description box. Scroll down and then just copy this chunk of code here. So if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here that explains it all. So I'm going to paste this all in there, and then I will cut out this title here, put it in there, save that and refresh. So now we have basically our bar chart, but what I want to do is I want to convert this so it's becoming a horizontal bar chart, because eventually these categories should become clickable but on the y-axis area. So I'm going to scroll down here, and then just below here in the options I'm going to say here index axis, and we're going to say here the y. Save that, refresh, and there we are. So now we have a horizontal bar chart. So the next thing what I want to do is I want to start making this all clickable, or more specifically, when we click on an item, it should understand first of all that we click on it, and afterwards we need to understand on which specific area we click on. So to do that, I'm going to put in here, enter, and then I'm going to put in here a specific function, which is basically an on click. So I'm going to say here my chart from this, but what I want to do is the following. I'm going to show you here exactly what I need. In the console log my chart save, I refresh this and open up console log. What I really need to pinpoint is specifically the canvas itself. So that is this one here, because this is basically the canvas with the ID name of my chart, which you want to pinpoint. Very important, because you might say, isn't this identical? No. The reason why that's not identical is because this is the ID, but also it connects to the config, and I don't want this object here that draws everything else. So I want this only specifically the item here. So I'm going to say here my chart dot canvas. Then I'm going to say here add event listener. And then what is our event listener? Well, in this case, we want to track the canvas the moment we click. So we're going to say here click. And then we're going to say comma. And then we're going to say here for every event. So I'm just going to put in here the letter E. But you can put anything here. It could be anything you want. Doesn't matter. And here a arrow function expression, and then in here what I want to do is if we click on it, I want to trigger a specific function, and this function will be called the clickable scales or y scales, doesn't matter. And then what I want to grab here is then two parameters, my chart, that will become important later on, and of course the event itself, the E or the click basically. So once we have this, what will happen now is if I have a function here, and let's grab this one here, and let's grab these items. Nope. And then what I want to here is the following. So we see this is the my chart, but of course here the E is the event. And what we can do here, just to give it a proper name, just say click. Once I do that, then I want to say here console log, and all I want to say here now, I have clicked. Save, refresh. So if I click now anywhere, we can see here the console log recognizes the click. So this is the first part. We're able now to create a clickable event within the canvas. So now, of course, what I want is not only the click, I need to know exactly where am I clicking on. So that would mean that I need two things. I need to have, first of all, the coordinates, but secondly, I also need the coordinates for every individual item. So what we're going to do now is, what we can do here is, let's start to work on our mouse coordinates. So the mouse coordinates. And then within here, I'm going to say the following. I'm going to say a let value of rec, which will be the canvas. And you see here canvas, you might say, oh, how do we get this? Because we have this here. I guess what we can do here is object destructuring for that. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say a constant. This equals my chart. This is very important. So what I'm really doing here, and maybe we can change this to chart, this new chart here, so it will not overlap any other variable. So this is the chart. And basically what we can do here with the chart is it's like the object. What I showed you previously with the canvas and everything. Basically that's what we do is with an object destruction, we can split out, and instead of saying, for example, my chart, what we did here, my chart.canvas, we can just say yeah, canvas. So what will happen is it will just give us a shorthand instead of, in this case it would be normally my chart.canvas to pinpoint here. We can just say now canvas. So this is an object destruction, and there's of course far more use value in this because there are other items that we eventually need. So what I will do here, just to make it easy, just to prepare them, because what I want to do here, I'm going to say ctx to draw on the canvas a rectangle, and it's just for demo purposes, so you have a visual. And the next what I want to do here is I want to get the scale value. More specifically, I want to get here the x and y value. So basically what I eventually want is just here the coordinates, although the x value would be not of no value in our case, but the y value is very important for us. So then we have this here. And then what I'm going to say here is the canvas, referring to this here. And then what I'm going to do here is, because what I want to do now is I want to start track the click coordinates. So I'm going to say here dot get bounding client rectangle or rec. So this allows us, if I do a console log, give us a lot of additional information the moment we click. You can see here when we click on it will grab all the positioning here, the bottom, the height, the width, everything what we need to know. However, there's one thing here. This get bounding client calculates within this rectangle or this screen here, not within the canvas. So what we need to do is we need to calculate that one. And how can we calculate that? Well, with the following. We put in an enter. And then what I want to do here is I'm going to say here. Basically, our click event will help us with that. So let's say here console log click. Let's save that one, refresh, and let's click. So we have here the pointer event, which is basically this one here, our click event. That's basically the click event. If I click on this here, then you can find here very carefully here the specific coordinates, which would be the client. Let's see if we can find it here, the client, or that should be here, the C, client X and client Y. This would indicate basically where we click on, and then what we need to do is we need to deduct this from this item here, which is this rectangle, and then we can say here for the X, the left, and for the Y, which is a vertical level, is basically here the top. So we need to calculate how much is the top here from this specific canvas. And that's what we're doing really. We calculate that one. Alright, so that would mean we can say here the following. We can say here constant x coordinates equal. And then I'm going to say here the click dot client x minus rectangle dot left. Once we do this, is basically on the vertical level, and now the horizontal level, and now we have the vertical level for the y. Say client y minus the top difference. If we do this in the console log, we should now see nicely the official coordinates here. So we say x core. What I will do is I just duplicate this, and I'm going to say here y core, and then let's delete this console log here and remove this as well. Save, refresh. So now if I click, wherever I click, you can see here now, it gives us the coordinates. And what we can check is to confirm. So this is the canvas. You can see here the width of the canvas is 700 pixels by 350. So if I click here somewhere, this should be the exact coordinates of x and y of 0.0. Just this corner here. While here, it will be the coordinate of 700 at the very end. X 700, but the height or the y value will be 0. So if I click on this, let's click here somewhere. I'll go to the console log and then let's click somewhere in the corner. As you can see here, I need to find the real exact coordinate, but as you can see, it starts to show here 0.01 and then 1.5, which is correct. And if I do here somewhere, 600 plus plus, it should be 700, but it's very hard to pinpoint the exact coordinate or the pixel. But anyway, it gives us the information we need. So this here helps us with the tracking of it. Alright, so now we have this. So what I want to do next or what I want to have as well, is the coordinates of our item here. Basically what we need to calculate here is the width of this specific y-axis, or sorry, this is the width, and the height of the y-axis, because the height should be divided by the amount of ticks we have, and in this case we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ticks. So how can we find this? Well, we have here the y information now in the object destruction. So if I do just a console log y, save that, and then refresh, open up the developer tab, and then just click somewhere, and you can see here now we get this 101, and you can see 101 is the y console log. We can see here the information, we get here the height, and this height indicates what is the true height between this point all the way to here, basically these two lines. So if we divide the height by the total ticks we have, we should have the height per tick. Next, what we have is here, we can calculate here the left side, which is 0, so that will mean here, and then we have here also the right side. If we go down somewhere, you will find the right value. Letter R, right, there we are, 38 pixels plus plus. And then what we have here, the ticks, you can see here the length of the ticks would be 7. So all of the information is built in here. We just grab them, make our calculation, and then we can quickly build it in here. So that's what we're going to do now. So to do this, what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to just say here, constant, and then I'm going to say here, top, and the top will be y.top. Basically, I want to extract this specific one here, that is somewhere here, number 32. We could also do that easily with this, and I'm going to say here the top, and then we can do here maybe left or right. So we can do here as well the left, and then maybe what we need is the right, and probably here the bottom. And well, although I'm not sure if the bottom will be necessary, and here the height. So that's one of these options. So in that case, then we don't have to do this anymore. That's the same here. However, if you do this, you have to really consider, if you have the x as well, they will be counteracting on each other. So that's why I would recommend you to really consider if you should do that one. In this case, I will not do that, just to avoid mistakes. Or if you would use the chart area, you will have conflict. So I'm going to do this here, and I'm going to say top, constant. What is the other one? Is left, left. And then here will be right, to calculate the right side. And finally we have the bottom, or well, we can put in the bottom. I'm not sure if we need to have the bottom, but what we do need is the height. So the height is basically the following. It is here the height, but if you want to have the height of every individual tick, we need to calculate the full height, which gives us here the full height. If I go here, let's see, h height 290 divide by 7. So what I want to do here is 290, or basically the height here, divide by, and then what I want to grab here is the tick. So I'm going to look for the y ticks. That's this one, ticks dot length. Let's say y dot ticks dot length. So if I do this, let's check. If I do console log, I'm going to grab this height here, so I will show you. And of course, I want to get the official new height that we just reassigned by dividing the ticks. And then maybe another one is to show you the ticks dot length, so we have clear understanding what I did in a visual. So if I saved it, refresh. All right. So now if I click on that, you will see here we get this. All right, we get some undefined. That's interesting. So we can calculate here ticks doesn't make any sense, of course. It should be length. Sorry about that. Refresh. Now if I click, we get here the length should be 41 pixels. So basically this divided by 7 equals 41 pixels for every item of height. So to make sure this is truly correct, what I'm going to do now is, instead of this here, I want to draw a simple rectangle. This is the reason why I have the CTX here, because it will allow us to draw a rectangle. So what I'm going to do here is very simple. I'm just going to say CTX dot fill style, and then I'm going to say here, oh, there should be an equal sign, gray. Next, I'm going to say CTX dot I'm going to say here the rectangle, and the rectangle, I'm going to just grab here the coordinates of what we have here. So I'm going to say here the first one would be, let's see, this will be the x starting point, then we have the y starting point, and then afterward would be the width and the height of that rectangle. So in our case, our x starting point is the left, the y dot left. Then next we have here the top, and then eventually once we have the width, what will be the width? Well, the width will be basically the right side, as this one here. Y, the right side would be left to the right here, and that's the width amount of pixels. Finally, you have the height, and the height should not be this one, but this one. However, I'm going to show you both, so you can see later on. Once I did this, I'm going to say ctx dot, I'm going to say here fill fill. Just make it fill, sorry, because I want to draw the rectangle now with the background color. Save that, refresh. Now nothing happens, but if I click here, there you are. So the moment I'm on hovering here, what happens? It cleans up basically the chart. And what happens is it just reloads because of the animation. So we need to click here, and you can see here, if I click on that, exactly the perfect coordinates is matching. You see that this here gets impacted, which is alright, don't worry about that, because later on we're going to remove the item, or remove this color fill. But basically we need to close the path of it. That's why it's like that. But that's a canvas topic. So if you want to understand my canvas topics, I have a full series of canvas. It's also on YouTube, so you can watch that one. So now we have this one. This confirms it. But what I want to do now is the following. Because we divided it by 7, if I click on, for example, Tuesday, I want Tuesday to be colored instead of Monday. So how do we do that? Well, all we have to do here is the following. We're going to create an if statement. But this if statement must be in a for loop. So we're going to say first the for loop. And in this for loop we say let I equals 0, semicolon, and we say we will loop I based on the amount of ticks we have, which is this here. 7 ticks. And then what I want to do here is we have this one, then we say I++. And then how will this be? So we're going to make now an if statement within this for loop. And this if statement is straightforward. We're going to say if, and then what we need to do is this mouse coordinates need to move up. And I'm going to just move this one down here for now. And the reason why is because these mouse coordinates will help us to check where are we clicking on. So what we're going to do now is an if statement. If we click within a specific coordinates, which is these coordinates within this square here, or within this area, in that case, color this. But if we click on here, we should be able to understand that this should be the color instead of that one. So this helps us to identify where exactly we click, because then we can grab the link later on. So I'm going to say if x coordinates, if it is larger or equal to left, which is basically this one here, and if x coordinate is smaller or equal to the right side, which is this one here, basically this here, then, or then another and now we're not going to focus anymore on the x coordinate, but on the y coordinate. So, and if the y coordinate, and now we have to pay attention here, is larger or equal to the top, I'm going to do top plus. Why? We have here this top should be excluded from the item because we want to click within here. So we need to put in top here so we can get the item top plus within this item here. So we say here top plus, what I'm going to do here is height. This is the height, but the height will be a multiplier multiplied by I. So we start with 0. So in that case, I height plus the I0 would be this line here, and the next one by 1 is that, and then you can see here it will start to work nicely later on. So once we did this, if this is confirmed, and then we say and if y coordinate is smaller or equal to, we're going to say top plus height we do once, and then what we need to do here is beside the height plus 1 plus again height multiplied by I. So why is that? Well, we want to be between here, But here, this one is index 0. So index 0 will start here. So to end here, I need to add up 1 time the height. So this is very important. So once we did this, if that is the case, then what I want to do is console log. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just say I here. Save that. Refresh. Alright, so refresh. And now if I click here, you can see here this works, but it doesn't show anything. Well, let me just make sure that this is all removed. All the console logs. Alright. Save that. Refresh. So if I click here, nothing works. But if I click here, 0. If I click this one, 1, 2, 3. You can see here this color here. Don't worry about that. We're going to remove that later on. But it already indicates it. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that the color of the box will match accordingly. So I'm going to just cut this out. Let's put this in here for now. Later on, we're going to just remove it. This is just for demo purposes. So there we are. And then what I want to do here, do this, and this that's going to grab here. This should be left. Alright. Then we have here the top. Well, basically, that will be this one here. That should be the top. Multiply by that. Then the other top is this by that, defining the height, and then the right side is fine. So if I save this, refresh, we should have that now. Alright. Alright. So, alright, there's something happening here that is unexpected. So we're going to say here top plus that will be the height. Alright. Then we have here top plus top that. Let's see what happens exactly. Let me double check. Of course. So the reason why this of course happens is very logical, because we're not allowed here to do this here, because we need to only calculate here the width of it. So what is the width? The width, or sorry, the height of that amount of pixels, because this is just a slightly different structure than what we did here. Just calculate the pixels in height. So if I click here now, this works. Of course, it will not reset it here if I click again on it, but that doesn't matter. That is not really the focus of this video. The focus was just to have a visual representation here. Alright, so this works. Now I can remove this. We don't need this anymore. This was just for demo. Then what I want to do here is to start adding up the links. So I'm going to add up here a link, and I'm just going to make it quickly here by going to say here label links. And the label links is an array, and this is just basically an object. What I'm really creating here is an object in JavaScript. So this is allowed to do. So once we have this, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in here just some websites. Let's say HTTP, and we're going to say www.google.com. Let's copy this. And then another one is chart.js3.com, of course. Another one is chart.js.org. Another one, Wikipedia. And then we have, what do we have more? Oh, that's not necessary. We can do here. I do another Google, that's fine. Oh, of course, that's not necessary. So we have Amazon and etc. etc. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Finally here, YouTube. Oh, sorry, this is just a habit of me. Very bad. YouTube. Alright, so now I have this. If I save this, I'm going to grab now these label links. I want to put in the label links in here. So how do I do that? Well, basically here, we have to go here into chart. And then from the chart, you can go grab the data items. So I'm going to say here chart.data sets index 0. So if you're wondering how do I get this, well, the answer is basically we go from chart, which is this here, or basically that, which is these are identical, remember, because we have it referenced here. So this chart is just my chart, and then from there we go to the data immediately, and from the data we go to data sets index 0, and then we say not data, but we're going to say labels. So that's basically what we did here. So we say dot this, and then we say not labels but labels links. Am I correct? Labels links. All right. And then here index whatever the I would be. So if I do this now and just cut this out, put it in here, save that, refresh. Invalid shorthand 57. Let's go to 57. Alright, of course, no equal sign, because it's an object. Now if I click, there we are, you get the websites here. Of course, it doesn't open yet, so now final item, let's open them. Here we're going to cut out this, and we're going to say the following. Let's delete all of this. And alright, and then we're going to say here the following. We're going to say window.open will be equal to this. So if I save this now, refresh, now if I click here, nothing happens, but if I click here, there you are, you can see it starts to open up. So if I click on this Tuesday, it should have chartjs3.com, this will be chartjs.org, here we have Google again, and then we have here, what was this, Wikipedia, alright, and there Amazon, and finally here YouTube. There we are. So this is basically how you can play around with it, and of course there's still a lot more. So maybe you want to make this clickable, but also the converting the cursor. I have a specific video that explains that. Well, this one is specifically on the X scales, but you can figure out that the way we do it for the Y scale is exactly the same as on the X scale. The only thing here is just follow along with how we do the hover cursor as well, and apply that with the coordinates that we have here for the Y scale. And that's basically it.